Sometimes you have to give yourself permission to choose the thing that you're trying to avoid choosing. Here's an example. So, when it comes to dating my current boyfriend, this is the first real relationship that I've been in. And as a Gemini, I find myself wondering, like, what it would be like to date someone else. This is the first real relationship. Like, is this really it? What more is out there? And I find myself like feeling constrained, constricted in the relationship. Like I have to be in this relationship. That's just how I feel sometimes. And so then I found that whenever I give myself permission, like internally, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I have the freedom to choose something else if I want. And then as soon as I give myself that permission to choose something else, then it's like the desire within me to suddenly I just have this whole new realization, right? Because I've given myself permission to choose the thing that I thought that I shouldn't choose or shouldn't go there or whatever. I'm in this committed relationship. Like, as soon as I give myself permission to choose that, then I start to have this whole new level of clarity. And I'm like, wow, like my boyfriend and I have built this whole beautiful thing together, and we're so close, and we love and support each other so much. Like, what we have is so good, and I wouldn't want to start something new with someone else. It all becomes clear to me as soon as I give myself permission to choose the thing that I was trying to avoid choosing or feeling like I shouldn't choose. So it just brings this whole new level of clarity when you actually give yourself permission to choose that thing. And it's like the truth reveals itself because you're no longer creating that resistance within yourself. And that resistance just creates confusion. So it's like as soon as you remove that resistance, the clarity comes pouring in terms of what's the most aligned path for you. So here's another example, is within my coaching business. Sometimes I'm like, okay, if this business doesn't fully support me financially, am I going to have to go back to engineering? And as soon as, it's like that inner battle of like, oh, I don't know, like maybe things aren't quite working out as I thought they would right now in my business, and do I need to go back to engineering? And as soon as I'm like, okay, let me internally give myself permission to be like, all right, then that's an option. That's an option that is a valid option that I could take to go back to engineering or to get a part-time job or something. And then as soon as I give myself permission to choose that, I'm like, oh, what the heck am I thinking? Like, this is my passion and I'm going to make this work no matter what. Like, do I really see myself going to work another job that's not my passion? I'm like, do I really see myself doing that? I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to do that. Like, I just can't see myself doing that. I just can't put myself in that position. And then I'm like back to, all right, well, we're just going to make this work no matter what. And then I get a new inspired action to take within my business. I'm like, I get a new inspiration for a post to make, new inspiration for something, right? And it comes once I release that resistance of, oh, I have to make this work no matter what. And oh, no, I can't choose the option of going back to work for an employer. Like, no. But as soon as I was like, well, yeah, I could do that. And then I give myself internal permission to choose that. I'm like, yeah, that's a valid choice. I could do that. And I give myself permission to choose that. And then as soon as I give myself that permission, I'm like, yeah, no, I really can't see myself doing that. And then it just fuels this whole new level of inspiration within my business. So, yeah. Another example that was coming to me is, with the whole recent, Teal Swan documentary and the whole, controversy of, suicide, and how she says that, or she encourages her followers to actually give themselves permission to contemplate the idea of actually committing suicide. And her argument is that by them actually imagining themselves committing suicide in their head, they actually end up not choosing to do that. And I see the parallels. Because I see in my own experience how that's the case with my boyfriend and my business. It's like that resistance of like, oh, I shouldn't choose that thing, so I'm forcing myself not to go there, and then I have to keep on this one path because I'm not letting myself choose that. You're just creating resistance on your current path, and you're creating confusion and a lack of clarity. But as soon as you give yourself that permission to be like, all right then, I'm going to give myself permission to choose that thing I was avoiding. And as soon as you do, it just becomes so clear to you. You're like, well, obviously I don't actually want to do that. But it only becomes clear to you once you actually give yourself the internal permission to choose that. You let go of that resistance and of you trying to force yourself to stay on your current path. Then once you don't no longer feel forced to stay on your current path, then you can just naturally choose your current path anyway.